Muted. All right. Sorry about the delay. Let's go ahead and pull this stuff up. Mm. All right. Posted that out and do that. There we go. Good. Okay. I'll give everybody 1 to 2 minutes. See how many more people show up. So today we're just going to spend probably 20 to 30 minutes talking about this Thursday night game. And then we are going to go back and finish our post-contest sims. We've done 2 parts so far. And this third one today should be pretty much just wrapping everything up. And hopefully we put a nice little bow on it. And have it ready to be pushed up to our Git repo. Let's see, let me make sure everything's loaded in correctly. We got to get our stats up. Mix up the let's mix up this a little bit. Oh, let me get the light going. There we go. A little brighter. Where's my stream kitty? Come on. Playlist. All right, let's get going. So tonight's game is I'm Blaine with AceMind, by the way. Hopefully by now you know that. Tonight's game is I don't even know how to get started on tonight's game. It's Buccaneers at Falcons. This spread has been between like 3 and 1.5, favored towards the Falcons all week. It was down to 1.5 earlier today. Now it's back up to 2.5. It was 2 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I'm really bad with time. Everybody in my personal life can tell you that. I'm terrible at time management, including getting on a stream in time management. But anyway, so the Falcons right now are favored by 2.5 in FanDuel. These odds are provided by our friends at Gambly, by the way. Good website. Sign up for the beta if you haven't yet. Chan, you guys know Chan from AceMind, would greatly appreciate it. But anyway, looks like 2.5 across the board right now for Atlanta. Total has been between like 43 and 44.5 all week. 44 is typically a pretty key number in NFL betting. There's a lot of totals that can land there. 24-20, for example, 23-21. So anywhere, moving around that number doesn't surprise me. I don't have much of an opinion on this game anyway. It kind of just feels like another kind of ugly Thursday night divisional game. I think the game probably ends up right around. It's going to come down to whoever has a ball last, or one of these quarterbacks is going to have a chance to win the game at the end. It feels like, and it's going to be right around the low 20s for both teams. So I don't have much of an opinion. Bijan Robinson was questionable on Sunday, I believe, or he hurt himself on Sunday. And so it seems like he's popular right now. We haven't projected. Let me pull up our on AceMind. Let me pull up our projections. They're uploaded now. So we still have Bijan projected. He's the third highest flex zone right now behind the two quarterbacks, so the highest skill position player by ownership. Oh yeah, good call, good call. Okay, nice reference. Um, now that's right. So Bijan is also the highest captain owned player. I, I mean, it's he's which skill position player do you want to play? You know, so I get it. You get the running back at home in a low total game. Makes sense, but there is a little uncertainty about how much workload he's gonna have tonight, how healthy is he? And the Falcons have shown that they like playing Algier. They don't mind, at least when Arthur Smith was the coach, they don't mind playing Algier, and he even got some work last week. So, definitely some risk with Bijan today. Let's see, who else? Let me turn off why is Telegram on? I don't even use Telegram. Um, Chris Godwin is actually the second highest owned captain tonight. I kinda like that play. The Falcons have shown that they're pretty vulnerable to slot receivers. Even Britton Covey, who you have to be a real college football sicko to know who that is. He had 6 catches, in that Monday night game against the Falcons, and the Falcons still have AJ Terrell healthy, so they at least have one pretty elite, perimeter corner that can not handle Mike Evans because you can't really handle Mike Evans, but make it difficult for Mike Evans, we'll say. Um, Anything else interesting? Not really. I mean, the kickers are getting owned around 20%. I believe Cody Main. Let's pull up Cody's Twitter. He's if you Cody Main, good, very good, right? Has great showdown breakdowns for ETR. He is very good. And also he has great creamy recipes. If you guys have a creamy, great creamy protein ice cream recipes of using a creamy. But he had a tweet the other day. Here we go. At least one kicker has appeared in 38% of all 2024 primetime showdown lineups. And at least one kicker has appeared in 48.5% of all top 1% finishing primetime showdown lineups. So, TLDR, playing kickers has been profitable so far. Now, at some point, you would think that ownership would catch up on kickers, but it doesn't seem like that's the case here. We see Younghoe Koo had a rocky start to his career in San Diego. He's been awesome since he came back with Atlanta. Chase McLaughlin's been solid as well. So, I mean, both kickers are absolutely in play in a 43 total. Um, Not much else to say here. The defenses are probably both fine plays. I hate playing defenses in showdown. You're really kind of betting on, unless the two teams are woeful offensively, like the Patriots or something. You're really betting on turnovers. I don't know. Both these quarterbacks. I mean, the Buccaneers can sack Cousins at least because he can't move right now with his Achilles. So they can rack up points with sacks. I'm just not like a huge fan of either defense. If we look at them defensively right now, Tampa right now is 21st in EPA per play on defense, and Atlanta is 23rd. So neither defense has been very strong, and both have been susceptible. These are pretty bad numbers. These EPA numbers against the run, pretty bad for both teams. So I'm not really in love with playing the defenses here. But if that's what we end up getting to when we run these sims, then that's what we get to. The only change I'm really going to make to my projections here is I'm going to put in a Bijan and Algier negative correlation. Basically, if let's say Bijan gets hurt or something, he has a bad game, you would think if the case where Bijan has a bad game here, it would be some kind of injury or situation, or the workload isn't there like it normally is. And in that case, probably Algier benefits from that, right? So we're going to add that correlation. And then we're also going to do the same thing with Rashad White and with Bucky Irving, Marquise Irving for the real college football heads among us. So I'm also going to add the same negative correlation. This negative 0.5 is kind of an arbitrary number. The more you set this correlation negatively, the more when we have bad Rashad White sims, the more points Bucky Irving's going to get. So it's like we could temper this down a little bit if we don't necessarily want Bucky Irving, but I don't mind getting there at ownership right now. He's around 22% right now in flex, 4% in captain. I don't mind that. I prefer Algier at 18, a little less ownership, but either one's fine with me. So let's go ahead and kick off a large field. This is the main for DraftKings. And then I'm going to open up a new tab here, and we're going to just go right to a wildcat. Nice small contest. That should finish faster. We can also see the difference in lineups. See the difference in lineups that we're getting. Let's go ahead and run this. Take a break to drink some coffee. Anything else worth mentioning? Baker right now is 9th in EPA plus CPOV composite. He's been really good the last couple of years. You know, he was a great college quarterback. He's one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time, just by accolades. Um, and you know, he's been very good with this Tampa offense. I mean, it helps that he has Godwin and Mike Evans, obviously. But I've been really impressed by him the last couple of years. I thought his career was pretty much done after Cleveland. And then we have Kirk is 19th, I think, in EPA CPOE, so he's a little below average. But you can see there's a lot of noise here. I mean, here's CJ Stroud 16th. So we don't we can look at these numbers and kind of draw some conclusions, but like with Cousins here, he's coming back from Achilles. It's early. It's early in the season. So let's see. So we're on field 3 now for our Wildcat. This one's going to take a while. Our main. I actually don't even know if it'll complete seven field sims. Anything else? Anything else? Yeah, I don't have much else to say like about the game or the skill players. Let's go back to the projections, I suppose, and see who else we're getting. I know there's uncertainty over Jalen McMillan, who's the third receiver normally for Tampa, and Trey Palmer are both out. And so there's uncertainty about who that third receiver is going to be. It's worth noting that they're the perimeter receiver, so it's somebody who's probably. Yeah, Josh, I could see the case for that. I could see the case for a shootout. I just feel like these Thursday night games, neither, especially early in the season, neither team's gonna be well rested. Only 3 days to prepare for the offenses. At least Tampa's offenses look sharp to start the year. You know, they look good against Philly. So there is that case to be made, and you have enough skill position players here between Bijan if he's healthy, Evans, Godwin, Drake London, Bucky Irving. You have the skill position players here to see a shootout and the quarterbacks as well. But I'm not. It's a Thursday night game. I'm not betting on it. That's for sure. All right. So here's the Wildcats completed here. So let's expand out to let's do 88, top 88. I'm not sure the Wildcat with 2,000 entries is yeah. I prefer Godwin. Although at ownership, I might prefer Evans. No, I prefer Godwin at ownership right now, and flex especially where he's lower on than Evans. If I were to pick one player to make my captain in this game, like just like a single entry, I would pick Godwin here, even at 10,000. It's actually weird to see the two highest priced players be receivers from the same team. You don't see that very often. But DraftKings is basically forcing you to choose. And that actually does make a case that maybe you should just play both then, right? Because people probably are going to choose one or the other at these salaries. So maybe we should play both. But anyway, looking here at our top 88 in the Wildcat, so we get some Baker. The model prefers captain in these kind of like smaller quarterback captain in these smaller entry contests, simply because the floor the quarterback captain has. And so here, Baker, we're getting a ton of Baker. Looks like Drake London cap is actually the highest owned captain in our top 88 lineups here, which is pretty interesting to me. I can see the case for it. But these I mean, just in general, I do not like playing Atlanta at all. They're just not fun to stack because they're so you just want so much more out of them, right? I mean, Drake London has these moments where he looks incredible, and so does Kyle Pitts, so does Bijan, but they just kind of always leave me wanting, you know? Yeah, we could do something like that. Probably with the I'll probably do that when we get the large field done. So Drake London is actually our highest owned captain in our top 88 lineups for the Wildcat. Bijan is next, 15%. Then some Ray Ray. That's some real dirty. That's I don't know if I can play Ray Ray. I mean, if I was playing 88 entries in the Wildcat, I'd get to some, but I mean, what he affords you though is he lets you get everybody else, right? You can get the Evans Mayfield stack, you get Bijan, you get Kirk, and you get the Bucky Irving leverage off Rashad White, right? So and Ray, he's actually seen target volume. He was decent with the 49ers when he was there. That's kind of like the backup to Debo, and he's seen good volume so far from Cousins. Cousins seems like targeting him. And the same goes for Darnell Mooney, who I think is getting squeezed out because of salary. Where's Mooney? Mooney's 7,200, right above Rashad White and Bucky Irving. And I feel like what's going to end up happening is people are going to play cheap Ray at 3,400, and people are going to play one of the two Tampa running backs. And we might see Mooney get squeezed out of ownership a little bit here. He might come in a little lower, especially if he doesn't sim very well. I don't hate getting Bucky Irving captain, even in small field. It's obviously super risky. We don't know the workload for him or Rashad White, but he's shown flashes as a runner. And if this game is low scoring, and you get like Bucky Irving and the kicker in the optimal, like Bucky has 2 touchdowns, that wouldn't shock me at all. We get Godwin ownership right in with the field at 13%. So anything else interesting? Sterling Shepard is the presumed third receiver for Tampa. I don't know if that's actually confirmed, but I know there's some talk about Cameron Johnson, who I don't even know if we have projected or not. Yeah, Cam Johnson for the absolute stone min at $200. We don't really know what the Tampa wide receiver rotation is going to be with Palmer and who am I forgetting? McMillan out. And so we can we could see one of these absolute stone man receivers for Tampa go off, or not go off, but be in the optimal. And that would definitely allow you to get to the Evans and Godwin combo. But then if you have Evans and Godwin and a cheap receiver, probably you're going to need Baker captain in that lineup, because it's really hard for a 3 receiver lineup to get there without the quarterback. And Sterling Shepard, by the way, at 1,600 is pulling in decent at 10% ownership. I mean, I get it. He's a name people know, so I get why people would just kind of assume he's the guy. But at 10%, I'm probably more likely to find ways not to play him. All right, so here's our large field. Let's pull the top 150. This is the DraftKings lottery. Again, we get some Baker and Kirk captain. Then we get Evans, and it seems like the Sims just kind of just eyeballing these. It seems like the Sims like Evans as a captain, and it's probably just because his captain ownership is low relative to the other big names. Bijan, Godwin, London, Mayfield are all higher owned captains than Mike Evans right now in our projections. So makes sense that the least owned elite player is the one that gets the captain love in large field. We get plenty of the quarterbacks in utility in our top 150. Plenty of Ray. Drake London is again I was back on the Wildcat. Here we go. Let me just close out of that. So in our large field, we actually get Cousins util is our highest owned player, which is, I mean, not surprising, I guess. Same with Baker, 48%. Baker's right around where the field we haven't projected right now. So Algier at 45%. Remember, and Irving at 41%. Remember those negative correlations I applied. So these are a little high, but in a large field contest, I wouldn't mind playing this much of each, but we could always go back and do our sim and just adjust those correlations down. We got these instead of negative 0.5. We could change these to like negative 0.25 and do it that way. But just kind of off the cuff, I don't mind the 45% and 41% right now. I know it's very risky. What is also risky is getting 28% Baker captain in our top 150. He does have rushing upside a little bit. Sneaky fast, as they might say. Sneaky athletic. But I'd probably look to get some of these skill position captains more. London is 16%, just like he was in the Wildcat Sims. Godwin is the next highest owned captain, and then the captain, then Bijan, then Evans, and then we're kind of running down. We're not spots. Darnell Mooney as captain could get there in super large field. I mean, he's like the one of those guys you want to just do an SGP where it's under receptions over receiving yards every time because he's going to get 4 or 5 targets a game, catch 2 or 3 of them maybe, and they're all going to be super deep targets, and he's going to have a chance to score 20 points on 2 catches. And at ownership and at price, 20 points might be enough for him to be the optimal. So let's download this, and we can check on how Evans and Godwin lineups do together. So we can just we'll just do this. Equals concat. The only annoying thing is let's think about this. I forgot how we did this last time. Yep. That's the agony and the ecstasy of playing Mooney. You know you're going to get the super valuable targets, but is he going to catch any of them? That's the real question. So let's go ahead and pull up. Let's go ahead and pull up our sim results here. All right. I forget how we did this before. Here's what we're searching for. I'm just move these over here for now. So we have 6. Actually, you know what? There's a way easier way to do this. We can just do a count F. So we'll say here's these 4. Like that. Lock our that. And then we'll do these guys. And we will do lock our columns in place. Which one was our captain? Our captain is 9-3. So this is CPT, CPT. Okay, so we're going to just sum this up. So these would be all lineups where this is what's the best way to do this? CPT plus util equals okay, so now we're just doing a little quick sum in Excel. Just like that. There, perfect. So this lineup here, it has Evans and Godwin together. We get 2 in our so let's just close like both util. Boom. And then these 2, we just copy and paste. Now we can delete all this. And then what we need to do, I figured this out the other day. The reason why we get those data source reference is because the brackets in the name. So we can just do large field sim results SD. So if we just change the name of the Excel, now we can just do a pivot table. So let's first do one looking at so here's where we're looking at both players in utility, and let's just do like an average of ROI, and we'll do an average of win probability. Just make this kind of quick. All right, so this would be so actually the highest ROI option is having neither in utility, neither Evans nor Godwin. And then this one we can do Evans captain. Evans captain is slightly under. So this would be Evans. Do so having Evans captain without Godwin, oops, is about -5 ROI on average, and having Evans captain with Godwin is very minus EV right now, just the way the sims work. And then if we did this again with Godwin, Evans util, I feel like these numbers are going to be about the same. So definitely just looking at this number here, not having Godwin captain at all is looking like a plus EV play on this slate, even though it has the highest win probability. And this is probably, or no, it does have the highest win probability. Okay, well, yeah, so it doesn't really look like it's a great move on this slate to get both players in the lineup. Choose one, or ideally choose none. Choose none or choose Godwin captain, I think is the long story short there. Could also be some small sample stuff happening in here. But anyway, is there any questions from people? Anybody have anything they want to look at here? We could check out get lineups, see what pops up. Getlineups.com, you can just grab a lineup. Let's just grab a large field. And let me boost, let's play both Algier and Irving. Boost them both and see what we get. Yeah, that's true. But what is the scenario where, I guess the scenario where they're both in the optimal lineup and Baker isn't, would be either a super low scoring game where they get there with PPR, or a shootout where other players just outscore Baker. I think, right? I mean, what other way would that happen? Anything else I want to boost here? We could boost Godwin, I suppose. I like Godwin in this game. Do a medium risk. We'll run it. Yeah, through low PPR, which that's definitely in the range of outcomes for a Thursday night game, divisional matchup. These teams know each other. Definitely within the range of outcomes for that to happen. You get some field goals. Both Atlanta's been bad in the red zone, so we end up with field goals, the touchdowns, and then they could both get there. Yep, agreed, Willie. That's probably the way it happens, if it happens. The only problem with that scenario, and it's not really it's like um The only like Evans's targets are usually I actually don't know what his A dot is like this year, but usually he gets a lot of end zone targets and he gets a lot of deep balls. And so that part kind of makes me a little nervous. So here's a Bucky Irving with the captain cousins, captain. Um, Kyle Pitts, everybody's favorite tight end, Kyle Pitts. We're still waiting on that breakout from Kyle Pitts. Some weird one-off like Godwin and five Falcons or Evans. It feels like Evans as the solo captain is more likely than Godwin because, like I said, Evan gets a lot of the end zone targets. So if he caught 3 touchdowns, or if he just had a huge game, caught a touchdown, I'm not even showing the screen, am I? I was going to show getlineups.com. Here you go. All right, we're back. Get lineups. So here's some of the ones that we're showing with get lineups. I said high risk. That's why we're getting some weird ones in here. I don't mind this one at all. These 1,100 on the table, but the ROI is really good because we're leaving that much on the table, right? Here's an Algier Bucky with Mayfield and Godwin. I don't know how much I like this one. Leaves 2,400 on the table. Again, makes it pretty risky, but pretty high ROI. All right. We can. Do we want to look at FanDuel? We could. Let's just see. So I ran some FanDuel earlier when I was populating our get lineups. Unsurprisingly, in the lotto, yeah, we're trying to improve that. It's like it's pretty hard to like. The thing is sometimes it has a tendency the AI to have like some. It doesn't really mean anything, Like it has a. You have to be really specific in the prompt engineering to make it so like what it's telling you is actually like valuable analysis and not just words. And so it's been a battle. We've been trying to feed it different data and stuff, so that's why it's taking a little longer to run. But in general, I'm pretty happy with how the summaries and stuff look now. So over on FanDuel, unsurprisingly, getting a ton of Kirk and Mayfield, um, a lot of Mayfield captain, some Godwin captain showing up on. It looks like a lot of Tampa captain or MVP on FanDuel. I really hate the FanDuel showdown format. Yeah, just a ton of Tampa captain love, it seems like. Even more than there was on DraftKings. We saw something similar like this in get lineups. Actually, this would be like Godwin insane PPR game, pretty much, and then field goals for Tampa or something. I don't mind this. Well, I like this one on FanDuel. Excuse me. Anything else? Anything else from you guys? Any other questions? Anything you want me to look at for this game? Otherwise, I'm going to go back and move on to our post contest sims. All right, all right. So let's go back to where we were yesterday on post contest sims. If I can find them. If I can find them. There we go. All right, pulling this back up. We left off yesterday. We actually have it. Actually, we had it putting out an output. For remember, we have lineups, out of order lineups, but we do have some numbers, win probabilities, etc. For the actual this I forget which contest I used. Oh, the Millie Maker last week. And then we do actually have our player exposure, and I believe these numbers should be accurate. Like, if we look at our contest standings, we can just double check a couple of these. Where's our 49ers defense? They should be down here. 49ers 3.27%. And on our current output, we have them at 2.64. So there's probably some issue right now with the way that we're aggregating the player results in the field lineups. I would guess it has to do with the duplicates. But we're almost there. We're almost there. So we left off yesterday. We were talking about the summary, and we were talking about, I actually asked a question in our Discord. You should join if you haven't yet. We've got a good community in there right now. We were debating how the post contest sims should handle people who want to like put in their own batch of lineups to see how they would have done in the contest. And my concern is that if we just add them to the field that actually exists, then we're going to be kind of doing some weird thing, like some dilution in the expected ROI numbers. And so I don't know. I think the consensus seems like it's fine to add them, and it's kind of on the user to know. It's kind of on the user to know how many lineups are allowed in the contest and to play the right amount. And now something we could do eventually is we could have it be like you submit, let's say for like a smaller contest, like what we were simulating the Millie Maker. We could have it do like you put in like 20 lineups and we simulate them one at a time for you. That is an option. But for now, let's just let people put in as many lineups as they want, and we'll just add them to the field. So we'll go back up into here, into our load. I believe I don't remember what we called it. Load late swap or load user lineups. Where is it? Load lineups from file. So we actually need to make some lineups to upload. I'll create a little I will create some with our optimizer real quick. I'll just do it off screen. Super easy. So I'll just make 20 lineups with the optimizer. And actually, even better, I have a file from last week that we could use. Sunday was the 29th. Where's our Wildcat spy? We'll use the spy one. All right, so I'm gonna grab the top two lineup score lineups. And I'll grab the top 20. Looks like we've got some Kyler, Jalen Hurts. No Justin Fields in my top 20, so I feel like actually there's one Justin Fields. One Justin Fields. And it has Nico Collins, but it has Najee and Jonathan Mingo. So I already feel like these lineups aren't going to sim that great, but that's okay. We'll just do. Oops. All right. And then we're going to save this. Save this into our working folder, which is in NFL post contest, DK data. I can't type. Okay, so we have now we have a tournament lineups CSV we can use. So we can test with this. Lots of Kyler and Jaden Daniels. Doesn't stun me. Doesn't stun me. Okay. And in our main.py, we need to make sure that we're telling it with our commands that we have a file in here. So if we look at how we're normally running this, here's our 0 argument, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5. So we just need to put in file 10,000 like that. Now it'll try to run our tournament lineups. Assuming we have it named. Actually, I think I need to name it in the config as well. Yeah. Okay. That should do the trick. So we're loading tournament lineups.csv here. And let's instead of calling these opco, let's just call these user now. User lineups. And let's go into where we were loading the our post contest data and where we're actually creating our lineups. Update contest lineups here. And let's and we'll call these contest. I think that'll be okay. So that way we're delineating between which lineups were users uploading for testing and which ones are the contest lineups. And when we're loading in our user lineups as well, we could even make a variable up here called like user entry IDs. And we could, well, we don't have it. Well, what we'll do is have this I for our, when we're iterating. So it'll be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, along with the rows in our DF. What we can do is we can save the mapping of our entry IDs. We'll call these entry IDs here. So we'll go self.user entry IDs I. But what we're going to do is we want to assign it to the field lineup that we're going to be putting this in. So let's go down here. And equals J. So now all we're doing is this key that we're putting into field lineups, we are giving it our entry IDs, a mapping back to that field lineup. And that should be all we need. That should be all we need. So now we got to go back down to our output. And this is the part that's going to be fun. So we can let's just run it now and make sure that our user lineups are uploading correctly. And immediately what we got to start thinking about is how are we going to do our loop here? So we could do like for we we could do this, right? And oop, so now remember we had our mapping from our user entry IDs to the field lineups keys. And now we're just accessing that field lineup this way. But we hit a new error, and that is in our update field lineups. Method. I believe, let me pull up our GPP sim method real quick. Find our diff. I know it's in here somewhere. Just like that. That should work for us now. We'll see. All we're doing it is we're just making sure that we're not overriding the field lineups. When we upload our user lineups, we're putting them into field lineups directly. So we just want to make sure that when we get in our contest lineups, we don't overwrite those. So we're just using this diff variable to keep track of how many missing lineups are there in the contest. There we go. Looks good. So for now, we're just going to add them to the contest field for now. It's the simplest way to get something up that people can use, and then eventually we can do some more complex stuff. Sending lineups one at a time against the field would be one example. So we already had a problem. We already hit a problem. And that is our field lineups. Right? When we update our field lineups in our contest, we have a dictionary like this, right? O lineup.values. So we need to update our load. We need to update this to use our so like here how we did all this stuff with like shuffling around the lists to make them work. Instead, all we really need to do is for R in self.roster positions, right? Because in our self.roster positions, this is how we defined our lineup dictionaries with these keys. And so now we can do for L in lineup copy. We almost have it. And we don't need to do shuffled LU anymore. Actually, what we can do is make shuffled LU a dictionary, right? And now we can do shuffled LU R, so our roster position, pointing at the screen like you can see me, equals L. And actually, we'll do self dot. So our construction, our zip. So now we're going to go through our uh, self dot roster construction and our temp roster and our roster positions, because our roster positions has the numbered positions, but our roster construction has like the QB, wide receiver, running back. Like they don't have the numbers at the end. So we'll just zip through these two lists together. Now we can do that, and actually we're going to do our construction here, and then our shuffled LU, our position. We'll do while z. So we'll do this. This z equals 9 thing is just keeping track of what columns we're at, because every optimizer kind of has a weird different output. And so we are going to I think we put it here. We are going to just make sure we're going through the first 9 columns of the table. Now we're just going to make our shuffled LU, which is a dictionary now. It's going to be sorted in a frozen set. Now our lineup is shuffled LU, which is a dictionary now. See how we did O lineup here? So let's go ahead and make sure this runs. And there's an indentation issue here. Looks good. Looks good. I don't want to do like, let's just do like 100 sims just because it's going to be faster. We got some bad lineups. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. What are we missing? Wide receiver 3 and flex? What if we just remove this thing? And while that's running again, let's just remove these ifs. We don't need them here anymore because this is DraftKings only. Some things I'm thinking about here for the output. I think the player output, assuming we get the I can't speak. Assuming we get the player output fixed, I think that's pretty much like we can use it. You know, like it has the average ROI, expected ROI for each player, um, the win percentage for each player, top 1%, etc. Stuff that we're going to want to look at for the player pool anyway. And it also has we can look at the top 150 lineups, what the returns were. Um, but I think we're going to want a couple things out of this output. First of all, we're going to want an output of every entry in the contest and what was the expected ROI. Then we're going to want an output for all of the user. If we brought in user lineups, then we want to make sure we have an output for showing what's the expected equity for the user lineups that you entered for each one. And then we're also probably going to want an output that is like a summary report of what's the expected equity for every user that entered the contest. So like how did what was Utical's expected ROI for this contest based on our sims? And that way, as a user, you could put in your lineups and you can compare yourself to the leaderboard to see where your expected equity was, expected win probability was compared to the rest of the field. And so we're still getting a weird problem with these loading lineups. What if we just remove this while z less than 9? I don't think we need it anymore with this new lineup that method we have. Let's try that again. Hmm. Well, I'm gonna debug this one. So why is this saying so let's just get so we're gonna get try to figure out why we're only getting 7 players in these lineups. Let's go ahead and just get our shuffled LU like this. And we're also going to get if cursor would calm down, we also are going to get I don't know if that's possible or not, to be honest. You could use our late swap sims to kind of get what their expected swap was and then see what they ended up playing. because the thing is we don't know, like, on the contest CSV, we don't know every player in the lineup, right? So, like, DraftKings will say, like, "Locked" in all caps for players that haven't started yet, that haven't locked yet. And so I don't know if that's, if we can do that. I'm not entirely sure why this is, why our F string here is being weird. See how, like, doesn't make any sense. Oh, F, original lineup, shuffled lineup. So I'm just gonna get a print for each lineup and see what's going on here. And let's move our console over to the right so it's easier to read. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. One, ah, chill out. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Yeah, how strange that it's missing. How strange that it's missing our. So on DraftKings we have QB, RB. That looks good. Roster positions looks good. Um, let's go ahead and do this here and just check and make sure that we are iterating through every player in our lineup. Here we go. I'm not entirely sure why we have the same code block here. That just seems like a bug. So who is 36039513? Bijan. Bijan. So it does. So I'm not sure why it's saying that it can't find Bijan when it's. If we look in our projections, where are we putting in flex? So we do a pen flex. Let's go ahead and add in a print for our player info on these and just see why it's saying that it's not finding these players, because we do see Bijan in some of these lineups, right? So what if we flipped how we're iterating? What if instead we did 4L in lineup copy, and then we just find the first available spot like this, right? So now we're just finding the first available spot for each player in each lineup. Because this is post contest sims, I don't really care. What the order is of the players, right? I mean, the lineups are all locked, so who cares? Who cares about putting a late player in flex and all that? It doesn't matter for this. So then what we can do is we can have a variable like player found false. Then we can say player found equals true. And then we can add a break here, right? Because now we found a spot to put the player. Then we'll get out of the loop, go back to the beginning, and start on the new iteration of L. And then we can say if player found false, right? I wonder if that'll do the trick for us. Now it looks better. Five, 1, 3. Except our shuffled lineup is 5 players. Seems suspicious. It seems very suspicious. So let's go ahead and add one more print, and we're just going to check and see why we're only getting 5 variables there. There are 5 players in our lineup. So here we find the LARDST. So let's look at this lineup. So we went and we found CJ Stroud, 426. Let's go ahead and also add in our shuffled LU. Just another print, just to see. It's possible that we're not like iterating through the roster position correctly. So notice we're only getting RB1 and wide receiver 1. Right? Why is that? And then roster construction position and position. And what I'm gonna cheat here. You'll see what I mean in a second. I'm gonna use the lifeline, because once we get, usually like you really want to make sure you're understanding what you're doing here, obviously. But once you get to the point of doing these debug prints like this, and it's just like a big wall of text. I mean, this is what AI is made for, is all of this like unstructured data that I could go through and figure out why we're only getting 5 players here, but it's just a lot easier to just copy this. We don't even have to copy that much of it, right? We just need to copy a few examples like this. And on Cursor, we could just pull up the AI chat directly in Cursor. So let's just remove all this stuff. And I like using Claude. Claude, I think, is the best right now at code. And let's go in and give it our post-contest simulator. And here is the output. And I'm just going to ask it. I'm going to show it the function. And I'm going to ask it, why are my shuffled LUs only containing 5 players? And then we're going to give it a little more information so it knows what's going on here. So we'll do this. And then let's just see what the AI says. It's probably going to be something in the loop that is just messed up, and it's going to be something pretty obvious, but it's just easier to ask. And like, I don't want to have to go through each iteration individually to try to figure out why this is happening. Because like, here's our shuffle lineup with only 3 players. So we'll give it a minute. Did it just switch back to mini? Damn it. Let's go back to here and make sure we're on Claude. Claude is just better, in my opinion, than O1 Mini right now. And it did actually bring up a good point that we're stopping it when z equals 9, somewhere in here. Maybe not anymore. So let's go ahead and we can pretty much just do this. Make sure our all right, so what is it doing in here? So it's basically doing the same thing, right? Shuffle LU, our position equals L. So it basically just split out flex. Okay. All right. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. Nope. Come on, Claude. Be better. Be better. And so we are so annoying. Our lineup copy is correct. We've seen that. Our original lineup has 9 players, every single one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? And we're getting player info for every player, because we don't see this print here, right? So We don't need this anymore. I wasn't expecting to hit a problem like this. uh, so let's go ahead and we're gonna print some more here. I'm gonna try to figure out why it's not I'm gonna try to figure out why it's not processing our because we are zipping through our roster positions here, which have which are QB, RB1, RB. These are the keys we want. So I'm a little confused here why it's saying why it's not adding our second and third receivers, for example. That doesn't make any sense to me. See, like not found for position RB2. So if we go up to if we let's try to find an actual receiver that we want to play here. There's Brock Bowers. You know, I wonder if the problem is the column headers the problem? No, because we saw that we have 9 players in each lineup, you know? Paris Campbell. So Paris Campbell did fill him in. So we're gonna also add a print player found and try it again. And let's try to find one of these lineups where so like this one, RB2 not filled. And so we're looking at this and we have DST, tight end. I'm just looking at the position here. So we did fill in Mingo for the last lineup. What if what if it's just replacing the player in wide receiver 1 or RB1? Here we have Kyron Williams. What was the order? So this last lineup had Chuba and Kyron, Mingo, Collins, Goddard. So I get the feeling here, looking at this, I get the feeling that we're just overriding. If we find We go like else print and I don't even want to do this. Finding position for player like this. So let's see if we can find our print now. This thing running? This thing on? There we go. So what I'm also going to do is remove a ton of these prints because it's just too much. Just too much. All I want is like that. With positions. Ay, ay, ay. Python source main.py dk post contest sim file 100. Call it up again. What am I missing? CD let's reactivate our virtual environment. Go back in here and figure out why in our main. Oh, because we renamed it. We renamed it to Post Contest Sims Classic. So DK Post Contest Sims Classic file 100. There we go. And it's still gonna run. Source main.py, py. Oh. 124 for file 100. Post contest sim classic. That's kind of annoying. All right. Back to this. Back to this. So I guess what I would notice is that we are only going to we aren't truly iterating through these, are we? Because we're only going to the quarterback, then Kyron Williams, then Mingo, and we're skipping everybody else. And I bet if we do like a print here, like this, DST, flex, TE, wide receiver 3, 2. So we are finding Let's throw this back at Claude. Say that it's Claude, your solution sucks. Um, um, Positions, and we'll give it this function again. Right. I thought this was going to be the easy part. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, we're prematurely breaking the lineup. That's the problem. I'm not sure where my solution went. That's okay. So I think it's actually yeah. This time I think Claude's got it. I think we got it now. That's a it's just a real annoying loop problem. This is the problem with looping. Basically, we were iterating through and just finding a match for each player, but it's still gonna work. It's still gonna work. Claude, let me down, buddy. So if we look at how this is working right now, it looks like when it's iterating through our lineup copy, we know that these lineups all are 9. That part's fine. But what's happening is we're not checking every other. So like we're only looking in this lineup. We're only looking for Purdy, only Jordan Mason, only Garrett Wilson. Like we're not looking at RB2, for example, right? So we're not looking for in that Purdy lineup whoever the second running back is. Yeah, back to 01 mini. I really thought it was going to be so easy to use Claude, and now we're just gonna have to do it ourselves. Normally, it's really good at this kind of problem. F lineup copy is. Let's add one more print here and just make sure we're getting what we need. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. How funny. Um, let's just give it our tournament lineups. We'll give it like a sample of it, like that. One last chance. One last chance, Claude. Giving you this one chance. Fix my problem. Or we're switching back to OpenAI. You know, Claude, I think you're confused, buddy. I really do. I don't think you know what the problem is. But we'll give it one more chance. Mostly because I don't want to be stuck on this problem anymore. Thought we were good. Yep. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And still not working. Unbelievable scenes. I'm just confused why in our loop here we're going 4L and lineup copy. It's like are we reassigning? Are we reusing L anywhere in this? For example, what if we just didn't remove L from lineup copy? We aren't ever using it again, you know? Oh, why did I do that? 124 week 4 file 100. Oh, you jerk. So annoying. So annoying. Look at that. Look at that. We did it. We did it. Ladies and gentlemen, who needs AI? I fixed it myself. I don't know why I keep saying could not assign Chuba to any position. Because it sure looks like it worked to me. Let's just check. Let's check a couple of these IDs. Oh, wait, don't. Please don't. Copy this. And let's look in our player IDs file and make sure this is a quarterback. Justin Fields. Justin Fields. Who's in our flex? Najee. Najee. Okay. What about this one? Byron. And is this the receiver? You bet it is. It's Nico Collins. All right. Crisis averted. Crisis averted. So we're going to just remove all these prints now. We know this is good. Okay. And now we're going to go back down to our output. Thank goodness that problem is over. Jeez. What a waste of time. Okay. So name index is not defined. This index here is from an old loop we have in our GPP simulator. So looking at how we used to do our output, we would just iterate through self.field lineups where index is the key for self.field lineups. And so instead of index here, couple options. One is to use this, right? One is to use contest lineups map entry ID, right? That would be one way. Another way, let's go ahead and another way would just be use entry ID. But actually, I kind of like doing it like this, right? And just using the same value. Okay, this could not assign thing is really annoying. Let's get rid of that because it is actually assigning players. It's just being cantankerous. So unique here is supposed to be the unique field lineups. That's not quite what we're looking for because it's okay to have this for the pre-contest sims, but for post-contest sims, we want to be looking at the actual contest. We don't want to be aggregating lineups together. We want to know how many duplicates there are for each lineup, but we want all the entry IDs to be separate. Let's go ahead and take a look at this thing, these lineups that we did. And now we just have red coat. That's suboptimal. But I feel like index just isn't being iterated through properly. So we could probably do entry ID. I don't think it makes a difference. Okay, let's remove this lineup copy print. We don't need that anymore. We can close our AI chat. It's gonna take a minute. And while this is running, remember we have our user lineups map up here. What did I call it? User entry IDs. So where do we want to put this? I guess we did start it. Let's just make sure. There. Now we have a record of every we almost have it, but it looks like our headers are messed up. We do have the entry ID now. We have the number of entry. This is like Fate Bender's 20th entry out of 50. That looks good. And we just need to fix the labels. Just the worst the way this works. So let's go ahead and we no longer need this. We don't need this. And now we can have entry ID user out of, let's go ahead and call it user lineups entered. And let's make sure we're doing this, let's make sure that we are doing that outside, doing our user aggregation outside. Um, and so here's actually where let me check this print. I don't know what this print is doing. So we do have user. I don't know why it's printing the first why it's printing the winning lineup, you know? That's kind of weird. Where did I what did I include? Did I include a print up here? Eh, I'm not sure. The one thing to check, Gordon Love, Aaron Jones, Zach Moss, that's looking good. Back into our post contest sim. So let's write our little loop here for user entry IDs. So field lineup, right? That so we pretty much can copy this entire method here. um so we can pretty much just copy this whole chunk with some slight changes. So up to here, we actually want to call that this instead of field lineup, we want to call this X. And where's my user entry IDs? Perfect. Equals user. And we don't need these anymore. We still want to keep all of our line of summary sets. Hey, Bill's Mafia. We are so I did the if you rewind back to the very beginning, I did the 30 minutes of preview for tonight's game, who the Sims are on, kind of my thoughts on the game. And then we're just finishing up. So we've been doing this little like code along thing, like a live stream while I build out a feature for the site and the repo. And here we're just finishing up adding post contest sims for DraftKings. So we're taking a actual contest, parsing out all the lineups, getting the actual player fantasy points, and then we're making a little module where we can upload our own lineups and test them against the field and see how we would have done. But if you just want like the showdown stuff, just go to like the first 30 minutes of this. Thank you, thank you. So this first part of the user output, we no longer need entry ID. We'll keep entry number. We'll get rid of user lineups entered. And what we're gonna do is I think entry I think it's gonna be like this. And entry ID up here. Looks good. Like that. And then in our little output thing here, we can remove the first 3. So now entry ID, and then we'll start right with the lineups. Where entry ID is more like the user lineup index or whatever. So that's the first part, is just getting this entry number. Yeah, true. Good point. Good point. I had to fix Claude's problems. Not often that's the case. So we're writing out, this should be a nice user summary, and we're going to want to name this sim user test. I don't know what I'm going to call it. Test lineups? I don't know. But while we are aggregating this, let's also write something that keeps track of like the overall stats for the lineups. And actually, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay to not have like an aggregate for just the user, and maybe it's just okay to have this test user lineups. Because like if you really want to know what your expected ROI was for all lineups, just sum up the ROIs or average them or whatever, right? And maybe we could include a nice little print in our console for people. But it's not really, I don't see it as necessary. So let's see. Did we get a print? Did we get a print? Not quite. Not quite. What happened? Oh, we need to make a new yeah. So instead of using unique, like reusing unique for our users, we need to have it be Claude knows, or I mean, cursor knows. So then, while this is running again, I'm pretty sure this is going to work. So now, let's break this last part out and do a. So let's say like let's add some variables here, like user ROI equals 0, user win prob equals, and then as we're iterating through all our user lineups, let's sum them up. Like this. And then at the end here, we're going to say, and we're just going to be adding all the ROIs together. I'm pretty sure that would be valid. But the last thing I wanted to do is I want to go one more time. I think in the end, I'm going to end up kind of consolidating all of this to one thing. I'll probably actually have Claude help with that, because Claude will just kind of pretty up the code I'm writing here. But the last thing we want to do is go back through our self contest lineups.items, and we're going to create a. So let's go down here, and actually, let's go ahead and contest user stats. Let's do this. So you see, it's our cursor already knows what we're trying to do here. So right before lineup string, like when we actually build the CSV, if user not in contest user stats, perfect. This is exactly what we want. Just like that. So now we're going to have a dictionary with, and we could even do some stuff like, we could make these lists, which would even be more interesting. For now, we're just going to make these whole numbers. Dupes. And we're also going to, I mean, this thing is pretty much knows what I'm trying to do. So this time, all we care about is we're going to get the number of entries. I'm not entirely sure why. User out of is really what we want. So there's a nicer way to do this assignment because we're not like doing any kind of any addition or anything, but we'll just do like that. So now for each user in the contest, we'll have this dictionary that keeps track of the wins, how many entries they had, their ROI. And for now, I'm just going to sum these numbers together. I feel like actually I should use an average. And I think what would be best in the end is if we made all of these lists. And actually, you know what? What if we just did like this? Like this. They're all lists now. And then what if we just, right? And well, we know that this is just going to be 0 and we can still do user out of. But once we have this dictionary now and we have all these lists, we can do a lot of fun stuff with like a standard deviation, with variance, um, some other stuff. So we could do the same thing here. So username equals user. And do you think anybody on DraftKings? Did you think anybody on DraftKings has a username user? If, and we can just do like that. And we know that num entries is so we no longer have this, but we know that num entries is going to be len self dot user entry IDs, right? Because we made a list of our entry IDs earlier, so that should give us the number of uploaded lineups. And we have these lists now; they're all in here. And now finally, we're just gonna aggregate and get variance and averages for each contest player, right? So for entrant. So here's our average, right? So we'll say like wins. There we go. Let's do standard deviations for all this. We have that. And that should be fine for now. So then let's just output contest user stats to CSV. So I already got that figured out for us. Let's call this like a contest leaderboard. And let's run it and see what happens. Assuming this looks good, then we can expand it out, do it for 10,000, and we can figure out what our post contestants would say were the best lineups to enter into that Millie Maker last week. Uh-oh. 1631. We're back up here. We are back up here. And all that looks good. So why is it thrown in error now? It's like just fine a second ago. 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks good. Positional replace an index of 36 out of range for positional args tuple. All right, this one is good to throw. Good to throw to the AI because I don't want to count all the brackets as just being out of laziness. Out of laziness, I don't want to count all the brackets. It just seems like a mess. And it's going to give me this whole new string we can use. Try again. Loaded our lineups in. Almost got it. I need to figure out this positive semi-definite thing. These warnings are annoying. I believe it's because we have 0. There we go. Although that looks weird. Well, it is so we have our user test lineups in here. But for some reason it's just spitting out the same lineup. Let's see, what about our contest leaderboard? That didn't print out anything. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to add this print on the eigenvalues. When we get the eigenvalues of the correlation matrix, I'm going to see why it's saying that we're going to put this print into our positive semi-definite message so we can understand why that's happening. And then let's do let's figure out let's go back up into our user data. Are we incrementing I? Yeah, we are. So let's go ahead and print our self.user entry IDs. And all I'm going to do here, just make sure that our user entry IDs is more than 0. And then let's have Cursor just fix this problem with the CSV real quick on the contest leaderboard. Oof, 2 hours. There it is. Yeah, I just need to write this loop just like that. That'll fix that problem. Print aggregating just like that. And let's make this a little larger now. Now that we have we know this is going to mostly run. All right, no problem. Yeah, I'm going to jump off here in about 10 minutes or so, probably less than that. I'm hoping this will work. So we do have these mapped. You know, we may not even need the user entry IDs piece. We probably could just get the first, upload a number of lineups of keys, and that would be fine. But it's fine to do it this way. Thanks for tuning in, OA. Here's our eigenvalues. So here we have a couple negatives here. It looks like these are on. Kind of need that looks better now. That looks better. These numbers look better running it 10,000 times. It looks like we're aggregating all the user lineups, so there's probably something issue in the loop if we don't. So one problem at a time here. One problem at a time. If we go back up and look at our correlation matrix and where we're generating these eigenvalues, let's just make this larger. It's kind of tricky. It's kind of difficult to see. Um, so like these negatives are what's causing this positive semi-definite error. I'm trying to figure out a nice way to print to show what the relationships are, which players these are that are causing this. But that's the problem. Um, so if we look at our build covariance matrix, function, we have our identity. What I want to see is we feed in game, or which is players, and build covariance matrix. So let's go ahead and print for player in game. Excuse me, print player. And yeah, and position. Do correlations, and we'll do. And let's not do that one for now. So this will help map. It'll help with this print. It'll help us map out these are eigenvalues to see what the problem is. Because like right now, it's hard to tell what this value means. And actually, I could probably tell cursor here to print this better. If not positive, semi-definite, show me the correlation matrix with the player names as labels so I can see the issue cells or whatever. And we'll pass this along. Perfect. So now it's going to show problems. We're going to get the player names now and our correlation matrix. And let's also do the same thing, but with our eigenvalues, our eigenvalues as well. And that way we can make sure that everything's kind of mapped up correctly together. But then that part's working. And now let's go back into our user lineups. And so we're still printing out same lineup, which is incorrect. Incorrect. And what about our contest leaderboard? This looks okay. Everybody has the same values though. So I feel like it's, again, this isn't iterating correctly. That seems fine. But the problem seems to be in our loop. That's okay. So these seem fine. Yeah, I don't like the way this printed. I don't think our potentially problematic correlations printed very well. I just printed the entire correlation matrix again. But it does seem like there is an issue with these. Eigenvalues for Josh Jacobs. Hmm. And then let's see. Why is this saying let's go back to where we load our self.contest lineups. That seems fine. If we print I don't want to do it here. I don't like that. I don't like that. Print binding. Actually, I kind of like that. So we'll just do that print. Now we're probably printing too much stuff. But we'll make sure that we're iterating through lineups correctly for the results page. And let's check on how we did this print of the problematic values. So we are iterating through entry IDs here, as we can see in this loop. It's tough to say line of string in. Let's see. So let's do like print unique.items at the end. And just see and make sure that we're actually like, it seems to me the way that this is outputting right now, where all this, it looks like the lineups are different, but the stats, I guess the stats are changing now. So that part seems okay. What about the user test lineups still aren't iterating correctly, and the contest leaderboard still isn't iterating correctly. So let's just print our contest user stats here. And see if the values are different in the actual. It could just be a problem with the way this is writing out. Would be my guess. Like all this seems right to me. We were iterating correctly through all the lineups. It doesn't seem so. Like we look at the potentially problematic correlations, and this could just be because we are. I actually now that I see it, I believe that is. I believe. Where's this print that's like printing everything? Snickers, 103. Sober and clean. So Looks like we look at this dictionary. It looks to me like we aren't like Shark has a 0.03 win probability. Mark F has a 0.03. So it seems like in our construction of our contest user stats, it seems like we aren't iterating correctly here at the end. Because everybody just has the same stats. So let's rewrite this to be like 4 user values in items. Let's just change that and see if this cooperates a little better. But I think 4:30. I think I'm gonna jump off. Been on for about 2 hours, so I'll finish. Like this is all pretty menial stuff at this point. Like the hard part was getting to this point, so this is just like cleaning up some outputs and stuff. I'm probably not gonna do another stream for it. I'll just finish it. Um, but we have outputs. We just need to fix a couple things with the loops. We have cache values for every lineup now, which is good. We can see what M. Steinberg played. We're going to have a report at the end here that shows everybody's equity before the contest started with our projections. That's the other thing to note for any post-contest sim you use. You are it's really dependent on your projections. It's like ideally you would use an industry aggregate as your projections, but otherwise there's just bias in your projections versus whatever the other people were using for their lineups. And so that's just worth keeping in mind. Looks like we got a little different here. Wins 0.05. Oh, too bad. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. I'm gonna go get a snack and fix this problem and get some lineups in for the showdown. So, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. Good luck tonight. If it's not going to be me winning tonight, I hope it's you. So, good luck out there. We'll be doing a show, I think, tomorrow for the classic, the main slate. I think Shan and I are going to do a show at probably about the same time, 2:00 Pacific. Talk about classic slate and see how we're going to play it. So, join us for that. We'll have it up on demand and live for you guys to tune in. So, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a good one. Oh, I always press the wrong button.